gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm checking out a film from 2011. That movie is The Time Machine I Found at a Yard Sale. I don't know much about this. A friend of mine, Josh, sent me the link to this thing one day. I watched about 5 seconds, jumped ahead, watched about 5 seconds. Within that 5 seconds, I saw a perfect storm of absolute disastrous failure. And I decided then and there I needed to cover this thing. Now, I've seen a lot of movies in this series, guys. In fact, this is my 501st episode, so obviously I've seen a ton of shit for this series. And I've seen a few movies that are just absolute low-budget, disastrous shit. Some of it has been absolutely awful. I think of stuff like Diary of a Cannibal and Fastback when I think of stuff that had almost no budget and completely sucked. But then there are those brief glimpses of fun. Movies that aren't necessarily good, but you can still laugh at just how bad the movie is. And that's stuff like Weasels Rip My Flesh and Intercessor, Another Rock and Roll Nightmare. I don't know which end of that specific shit movie spectrum this thing is going to fall on. The only thing I know is that the movie claims to be a tribute to sci-fi films of the 40s and 50s, and it was made with the budget of $3,500. $3,500, that's it. Now, I've seen movies made for far less, and mind you, one of those was Weasels Rip My Flesh, which wound up being kind of entertaining in a stupid way. Again, I don't know what to really expect out of this movie. The only way I'm going to find out if this thing's watchable at all is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out The Time Machine I Found at a Yard Sale. So, are we going to have anything happen in this movie? Swear to God, guys, for like the past 3 minutes, our hero has just been wandering around in the fucking forest after he diddled around with his fucking time machine. I'm not totally sure if he went forwards in time or backwards in time, but literally, it's just been him wandering through the woods. There's been no fucking dialogue, there has been no fucking narration, nothing to justify which way he jumped in time, be it forwards or backwards, or what exactly he's looking for. It's been just 3 minutes of wasted time, and I'm going to tell you guys, that seems to be a common thing so far in this film. Whole lot of shots just keep on going, and they go nowhere fucking fast. Kind of hoping that this movie at some point picks up picks up the pace and actually has a story to fucking tell us. Otherwise, I'm in for 83 minutes of shit. Well, guys, we finally have dialogue. It's a pity I can't hear it over the sound of the sound effects. What's weird about this is that this was shot in a room. They had to chroma key the forest in the background. You'd think they'd have had a boom mic or something. You'd think that they would have fucked around with the sound levels so that way the dialogue isn't getting fucking drowned out by sound effects. I don't give a shit if this was only the director's second film. I don't care what the budget was. Nothing should be this fucking terrible, guys. You know, guys, what would make this film a lot better? I commented earlier about how you can barely hear the dialogue in many cases. I just learned, when you can hear it, the acting is about as wooden and dead as you will ever hear. And now we've spent the better part of a minute watching as this spaceship, which is apparently this ultra-fast ship, slowly hovering towards an alien planet. That is, goddamn it, guys, the padding in this film is really starting to hurt. The acting hurts even more. The sound mix is torturous. The special effects are shit. My God, why the hell did I fucking agree to cover this fucking thing? Are they really trying to reenact that scene from The Wrath of Khan? Where both ships are sort of flying dead, trying to... Oh, fuck me, dead they are. They're even trying to replicate the shots. Oh my God. This sucks, man. Even when this thing tries to reference good fucking movies, it can't do it well. Oh my fucking god. I hate this. This is quite possibly one of the worst pieces of shit I have ever fucking seen. And goddamn it, I cannot wait for the son of a bitch to be done. Are they really mourning the loss of their spaceship? Has he forgotten that he has a time machine in his backpack? You know, guys, the time machine that's in the title of this fucking movie. What exactly is stopping him from going back in time, say, 2 hours and just hijacking the ship when your past selves arrive on this desolate, iced-over planet? What exactly is stopping you from fucking doing that? I'm really curious, guys. I mean, you would think that would be like the most common sense fix to this. But no, our two leads are going to sit there hugging in the middle of a fucking snowfield because neither of them apparently have the fucking foresight to use the goddamn time machine that they've been lugging with them for almost an hour and 10 minutes now. This is fucking bullshit, man. Well, guys, that was the time machine I found at a yard sale. Jesus Christ almighty. Okay. I'm trying to figure out where to even fucking start. I know this movie claimed to be a salute to 50s and 60s films. I'm going to tell you right now, that is a steaming load of bullshit, which the filmmakers are trying to use to, I guess, excuse the fact that their movie is unwatchable pig shit. I guess maybe I've given away my thought on there a little bit too early, huh? Let me try to explain. The writing. Let me tell you right now, guys, before people start clamoring about the whole, well, the movie's supposed to be bad, or fucking argument, I'm going to say this. Nobody goes out of their way to intentionally make a bad movie. You can totally do tributes to bad movies, but still, at the end of the day, your writing is supposed to at least be strong enough to keep the viewer interested. And I'm going to tell you, the writing, while everything else is a rather large, sizable problem, the writing is probably the worst problem this film has. Allow me to explain. Actually, sound mix is also an issue, so I have to explain right now. You can only hear about a third of the fucking dialogue. I'll explain why when I start touching on sound mix. This film, this story, doesn't know what the fuck it wants to do. If you've ever wanted to see the cinematic equivalent of ADHD, behold the time machine I found at a yard sale. Because it starts with our main character, Robert, purchasing a little gold box at a yard sale. I could totally go into detail about how the yard sale was just a bunch of flatware on a fucking carpet in somebody's driveway, and that barely constitutes a yard sale. But I'm not about to split hairs on that fucking shit. So he buys this gold box, and he goes and lifts up the lid, and he sees what looks like the top of a 4-slice toaster and a bunch of buttons. And he just randomly starts pushing buttons, and all of a sudden he notices that the clock on his wall is spinning forward. And then he hits a few more buttons, it stops. He hits a few more, it spins backwards. He learned that what was in the box was a time machine. He was able to diddle around with time. He just started fuck around with it. And then he thought, well, what if I go way into the future? I want to see what the future holds. He winds up finding a slave, kidnaps her, brings her with him as he travels even further into the future, so there's never really a focus as to what her fucking society had outside of, there was this giant prison, there was this giant pyramid, and apparently the slaves are being watched by guards, and you see the guards are little flying saucers about this big. Never see her time period again. So, after that next jump, which I believe he said was about 1,000 years, couldn't quite hear it totally again, sound mix a bit of an issue. And then they find a spaceship. The spaceship has more prominence in the story than our titular time machine does. Here is where the ADHD really kicks in, because they hear this message saying that there's a bunch of shit on the ship which has to be delivered to this one planet. Instead of just bumbling directly to that planet, they have to sightsee. So they go and they hit like two, maybe three other planets before finally getting there. The movie actually has to put up a title card in order to tell you that they finally got to that fucking planet, in order to remind the viewers that yes, this thing actually did have a fucking plot at some oddball point. And then the movie mentions something about a fucking, like, empire and a resistance. They want to help the resistance. They wind up running into a ship. They shoot down the ship, and then you don't hear about the resistance until the very end of the film, when, after they've done a whole lot of other goofy bullshit, they're like, oh, well, we still need to go and stop the empire. We need to help the fucking resistance. It would have been nice if the film could have picked like a single plot thread and run with it, instead of like, oh, well, they found the ship, they're gonna go and like sightsee to all these different planets. You know, you could have done that, it might have been fine. Or, you know, they go right to the planet that was mentioned on the ship log, and they try to stop the fucking empire. You pick one of those two paths. You cannot sit there and, like, inter-fucking-twine them. Whole thing feels fucking lame and stupid as shit. I mentioned at one point their ship was fucking attacked and was disabled when they were on this icy planet. And I said that he does have that time, he has that time machine. He could totally just go back in time. Now, this was after 2 minutes of the characters moping. This is more editing than it is writing. But, you know, not 3 seconds after I finished my little, you know, spiel about it, it finally dawned on them that, yes, they can totally do that. Then they go back to the present time. And they apparently still have the ship. And they can still fight the resistance, even though they never officially did the time jump forward. Guys, the writing here makes no fucking sense. Now, perhaps maybe I'm missing a lot of shit because I couldn't hear anything. Normally, guys, I jump right from writing to acting, but this time, goddammit, that sound mix. Let's discuss the sound mix. First of all, a whole lot of these shots, a whole lot of the scenes in this movie are not shot on set. I mean, on site. So they are not shot in the woods. They aren't shot in, you know, like some, like, tundra area. No. It's all shot in a fucking room with a green screen. So you'd think, if you're filming in that kind of an environment, a boom mic would be in use. I don't want to hear that the budget was too low for a fucking boom mic. That is bullshit. Get it? They could have had a boom mic. Or they could have, I don't know, hooked everyone up with, like, little fucking, like, clip-on mics. Something. Anything to pick up the fucking dialogue. Because unless everything is totally quiet, and there's not a sound in sight, unless everything is absolutely perfect and there's no other sound in the fucking room, you will not be able to hear these actors. Part of that is because when they are supposed to be in the forest, there's the sounds of the forest, which apparently is just the sounds of, like, crickets and frogs. Like, crickets, frogs, and wind as it rustles through the fucking leaves. And that is drowning out the dialogue, so you can't hear shit. So at one point, apparently, we find out the name of the slave that he fucking went and kidnapped. I think her name was was it Sheba? I don't know. I could barely hear it because I was too busy listening to the fucking frogs and the crickets. Because apparently the movie thought that the frogs and the crickets had more fucking prominence than the plot-heavy dialogue being spoken at that point. Alright? So anyway, everything is all in front of a green screen. You can still barely hear the actors when they're fucking talking. Yeah, that is really the issue, guys, is that the sound mix is so bad that you cannot understand what is being said through most of the movie, and you're going to be completely lost. And when you are this lost in a movie which is this shitty, there's no point to even continue watching. Yet I still soldiered forth because, damn it, I wanted to see if this thing was going to go anywhere, if there was going to be any kind of fucking closure. The thing ends apparently on a cliffhanger because they toss a fucking coin to see if they're going to go and stop the fucking Empire now or in a fucking week. You never find out how that coin toss ended up, because apparently they thought, no, we have to save something for the time machine I found at a yard sale too. Well, fuck you, assholes. I don't care. Oh my god. Yeah, guys, the writing is just that terrible. Our acting, fucking hell. If you thought that the writing was bad, the acting, what little of it you can hear, is terrible. Allow me to explain. I have spoken at great length in the past in this series about actors who don't know how to emote. I've spoken at great length about actors who insist on spiking the camera every time that they're in shot. I want you to imagine all of that in one little package. And it's not just one actor. It's the whole fucking cast. At least in terms of being completely dead, in terms of how their lines are read. Our two leads, even when the camera's pointed directly at them, guys, I don't care. When the camera's pointed directly at you and you're supposed to be talking to a character who's theoretically on the other side of the camera, you're not supposed to spike the fucking lens. You are not supposed to look directly into the goddamn lens. It looks weird and it looks stupid. Yet that is exactly what they do. If you're supposed to be talking to somebody who's theoretically on the other side of the camera, you're supposed to dart your vision just off of the lens, because that looks a touch more natural and it looks a little bit less stupid. Apparently, our fucking director had no clue on that, and our actors are completely oblivious to that fucking fact, because that's all that they do is spike the goddamn camera and it looks awful. I probably wouldn't have a problem with them constantly spiking the motherfucking camera if not for the fact that none of them know the first thing about emotion. I am not even kidding, guys, when I tell you that every line is read like this. They could be chased in space by an enemy ship firing a giant laser at them, and they're still going to read their line the same way somebody would read a news story about a fender bender on the highway. They don't care. There is no feeling there. And if you're gonna fucking tell me that that kind of a line reading is because you were trying to pay tribute to 50s and 60s films, eat a fucking dick and die. That is not how those movies were fucking done. Most of those movies, especially the really cheesy ones, the actors overacted and they fucking hammed it up, and that's what made those movies so enjoyable to fucking watch. It's not because they were a bunch of dead-eyed simpletons who couldn't fucking act to save their souls. Jesus fucking Christ, man. I've never been this pissed off at a bad movie. Or correction, I haven't been this pissed off at a bad movie in a long fucking time. But guys, normally, guys, a film will have at least something. The only thing I can give this thing as a positive is at least it was shot in HD. That's all. That's it. That's all I've got is it was shot in HD. Let me talk about editing for a minute, because goddamn it, fucking editing, man. So early on, before Robert starts toying with his new time machine, he goes to the fridge. He gets a glass of orange juice, and that shot of him drinking the orange juice lasts almost a minute. And you can see him as he has the glass in his hand. He sits there and he takes a nice big ass drink, puts it down, and then sort of looks off camera as if he's waiting for the director to tell him to put the fucking glass down. I'm going to assume that the director's like, and he just takes basically like another like small drink, looks off to the side, takes another drink, looks off to the side, finishes it off, and then puts it in the sink. What the fuck was the point of that? Why the hell did we entire goddamn sequence. Why, film? Why the hell did we need the long, drawn-out shot of the spaceship after it had landed? It's a static shot of the fucking ship. The only thing that happens is we hear as the engines are shutting down, and then the back hatch slowly lowers. The whole shot, all told, is like 45 seconds. It could have been a 5-second establishing shot. The editing is that bad, guys. The pacing in this film, there is no fucking pacing. I've seen glaciers that are in more of a goddamned hurry than this fucking movie is. So that is why we have 3 minutes of him wandering around in the fucking forest until he finally runs into the slaves. Apparently, we needed to be shown that in the far-flung future, California is a fucking forest with nothing in sight. We didn't need 5 different shots of him walking through select patches of forest for that. You could have done that with one. Maybe done, I don't know, maybe like a fade effect to show that time had passed. Like some kind of like a fade transition from shot to shot to show that time had passed. So that way he then sees the giant pyramid and then runs into the fucking slaves. You could have cut at least 2.5 minutes out of your fucking movie doing that. And on that note, let me say, if you're going to claim to be a love letter to 50s and 60s films, let me give you a little tip. Most of those films, especially the ones from the 50s, were lucky if they broke the 60-minute mark. If you would have cut all of this bullshit fucking padding, you would have been down to about 1 hour and 5 minutes, exactly the length of the very movies you claim to be doing a fucking honor to. So fuck you, you lying sacks of shit. Jesus, fuck. I just thought of something, because the scene with the orange juice reminded me of this. This is something else involving the sound mix. If you want to know how bad it is, guys, it's not just that the background noises are drowning out the dialogue. Even shit that's being rustled around by the actors is drowning them out. How the fuck is it that two people can be having a conversation, you can't hear shit, but when one of them pulls out a paper bag, the sound of the paper bag is 10 times louder than either actor in the fucking scene? Why is it that when our two leads are inside of the spaceship and they start fucking around with the seat belts, you can hear you can hear the jangling of the seat belt more than you can hear them? The fuck happened here in terms of sound mix, movie? I would love to know. I would love it if the fucking studio or the filmmaker, if the fucking director could come forward and explain to me what the fuck happened in this absolute abortion of a fucking movie that it turned out this badly. I don't want to hear that it has to do with the budget. You're full of shit there. I've seen cheaper movies done fucking better. I don't want to hear that it's a fucking tribute to 50s and 60s sci-fi films. I can already tell you right now that right there is a straight up bullshit lie. So tell me, why is this movie as absolutely retarded as it fucking is? I want answers. I don't think I'm going to sleep until I get those answers. I am not going to sleep well until I know what kind of blunt mental trauma does someone have to suffer to make something like this and think it's worth releasing. I haven't even talked about special effects, guys. I haven't. I've been too busy railing on sound mix, acting, and writing because motherfuck, all of those are bad. But that's also because special effects are, for the most part, okay. At least they would be if the film was made in like 1992 as opposed to 2011. You see, we have here a lot of CG. Our spaceship looks like shit. Actually, everything looks pretty bad because there's no texturing put onto anything. So while there may be a few minor details on the ship, there is no texturing to show what the fuck it's made out of. So it could be a ship made of plastic, it could be a ship made of metal, it could be a fucking spaceship made out of fucking, wood. I don't know. Nobody knows. Because there's no texture on that motherfucking ship. Probably the worst instance. When our two leads are going, like, planet hopping for no other reason than fuck you, that's why, they run into a dinosaur. I'm sorry, a dinosaur. It's a CG model. It's a static CG model, which I'm going to assume was supposed to be a reference to the fact that back in the 40s, not the 50s and 60s like the fucking filmmakers trying to tell you, but in the fucking 40s, there were tons of movies where people were finding dinosaurs in modern times. And if you were doing things with fucking wide angle shots, you would just get like a plastic dinosaur toy and you just put it in the shot. And if it has to move, then you basically are either moving the toy or you have some kind of like a rubber suit or a puppet. But we have this static dinosaur model, probably supposed to look like a plastic toy. It would probably have been cheaper, just a little bit of fucking FYI for you. Might have been cheaper for you guys to have just gone down to a Dollar Tree and just bought a motherfucking dinosaur toy instead of trying to make the CG model. But the model, it does not move, it does not blink, it is not textured. It's just this ugly shade of dog shit brown, and it looks horrible. It does not look horrible in the sense of, oh, haha, this or here's how old movies used to look. It looks horrible as if the filmmakers just didn't fucking care. And that really, guys, is probably the best way I can sum up this whole car wreck of a film, is that the people who made it didn't fucking care. All right? Our writer didn't care, our director didn't care, our cast didn't care, our sound editor didn't fucking care, the assholes rendering the CG didn't fucking care, and the worthless shit-brain studio that put this thing out didn't fucking care. So to watch it is a waste of an hour and 23 minutes, but I am not just going to have you take my word for it. The movie is on YouTube, and I'm going to provide a link. If you guys really want to watch this thing, go right ahead. I'm going to tell you, though, you're probably better off not to, but you still might want to see how bad this piece of shit really is. So when all is said and done, can I recommend the time machine I found at a yard sale? No. Fuck no. I am nothing short of happy that at least the studio only decided to put it on YouTube instead of trying to sell it, because there is no dollar amount you could put on this thing and make it fucking worth it. If somebody were to give you this thing on fucking DVD and they paid you to take it, you'd still feel fucking ripped off. This movie is an unwatchable, boring waste of almost 90 fucking minutes. It's disgusting. I have not been this insulted by a movie in a long fucking time. This is one of the biggest cases of no one fucking cared that I have ever run into. And it absolutely fills me with fucking rage that I sat here and I decided I was going to cover this. Motherfucker, I could have covered anything else. I could have spent my time watching almost any other goddamned movie. I'm looking over at my Blu-ray collection. God damn it, I see so many movies up there I could have been watching instead of this. That could have made for episodes that aren't quite as rage-filling as this piece of shit was. This thing is quite possibly this isn't even a quite possibly. This fucker is one of the worst movies I have ever fucking seen. Am I saying that it's as bad as the by far worst I've seen in this series? Is this thing worse than fucking Birdemic? Oh, most fucking certainly. Is it worse than Inappropriate Comedy? No. That thing there is still the high ruler of dog shit mountain. But this sucker here is a close fucking second. The only way I could ever recommend this thing is if you truly want to suffer. And I am not talking suffer in a funny way. I mean feel genuine physical fucking pain by the time you're done watching it. This movie is a waste of time. It was a waste of money. And god damn it, it is a waste of your brain cells to even attempt to process half of the bullshit that happens in this fucking movie. I cannot recommend this at all. Yet once more, I am going to provide a link because I know there are people out there who really are going to want to see how bad this thing really is. But once more, it sucks. Badly. You have been warned. Now, talked about my Blu-ray collection earlier. I'm looking at it. Trying to find something I can watch to wash the taste of this. Perfect. Hang 'em high. I'm going to go watch one of Clint Eastwood's finest westerns, Hang 'em High. Why? Because I need to watch something good. As much as I'd love to watch fucking Star Trek 2 and be reminded how that one shot is supposed to be done, since this movie insisted on ripping off one of the more iconic shots of Star Trek 2, I'm going to hold off on that. Probably going to watch that after I'm done watching Hang 'em High. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.